welcome to another installment of Metallic Reviews, the show where I take an honest look at the harder, heavier side of music and give it an honest rating. Well, folks, we're going to try it again. Yeah. For those of you who keep up with the channel regularly, you know that things have not exactly been going very swimmingly around here recently. It's just been It's been crazy in my personal life. I was sick for a while. My computer is old, and sometimes it can be stubborn as a mule. But we're back. We are back on film, and hopefully we're going to stay here. And what better way to reopen Metallic Reviews airwaves than with some claustrophobically sinister deathcore? Yes, it's scene mainstays Carnifex and their new one, Necromanteum, out October 6th on Nuclear Blast. It is the band's 9th record and their first since 2021's Graveside Confessions. So, how'd they do? Let's jump in and find out. Now, first off, this is deathcore. This is definitely deathcore. No bones about it. From the moment you start listening to it to the minute you leave in something of an amorphous puddle, it's deathcore. It is definitely deathcore. But even though you do leave as an amorphous puddle, I wouldn't say that this is the genre at its most primal, nor its most completely knuckle-draggingly heavy. Don't get me wrong, it's still incredibly heavy, definitely deathcore, and at some points, it feels like the purveyor of the title of the record has taken a shovel to the listener's head along with an axe to the gut. But, at the same time, there's this sense of refinement that you just don't get with other deathcore releases. There's thought. There's actual thought that has gone into this. And it's not just heavy because deathcore is heavy, and deathcore needs to be heavy because that's just what it should be, no questions asked. I'm looking at you, Suicide Silence and Signs of the Swarm. And also, this is another deathcore record that's kind of following the trend of adding in symphonic elements in an attempt to create the next Pain Remains. Now, I love symphonic metal, and I enjoy that they do this, but sometimes when deathcore bands do it, they don't know how to do it right. However, this album and Cattle Decapitation's album from earlier this year, they both done it right. You know, the symphonic stuff on Necromanteum is just really, really tasteful. It's not overpowering, but rather it comes in and accentuates things beautifully. Now, this is true right off the bat, as album opener Torn in Two features vocalist Scott Lewis pounding out verse after verse, compounded by shrieks of strings in just the right spots. It's almost like they took the soundtrack from Psycho and just rammed it into a deathcore song. When the symphonic stuff here isn't playing a major role, it's setting itself up nicely in the background. Now, this is true on tracks like the title one and Architect of Misanthropy. Now, out of everything on here, though, one of my favorite tracks is Crowned and Ever Black, the band's tribute to the late Black Dahlia Murder frontman Trevor Sternad. It's a very well-executed deathcore track that features a lot of callbacks to Black Dahlia Murder, both musically and lyrically. Now, this is another song where, again, the symphonic elements play a great supporting role, and they just add to the track's overall appeal. And the same is true of a lot of Black Dahlia Murder's music. Lyrically, they managed to call out every single Black Dahlia Murder album title and apply it to Trevor, which is really cool. Everything from Nocturnal to Miasma to Nightbringers, it's all in there. It's just a great tribute from some guys who put a lot of thought and effort into everything. Now, I will say that the record has a lot going for it, a ton. Definitely one of the deathcore releases of the year and maybe a Dark Horse Album of the Year contender. It does have a couple of setbacks, though. For one, when it moves away from the symphonic support and this terrific verse-to-chorus songwriting, it can start to stray into what I refer to as dull deathcore. Namely, this idea that, again, if you're not heavy 100% of the time, then you're a freaking poser and no one will take you seriously. You know, that kind of deathcore just really turns me off. When they get back into their groove, the album rocks. But there are one or two moments where they do shift ever so slightly into that we need to be heavy because we just have to be mentality. Another setback lies in some of the lyricism. Now, while I get that they're not exactly going for lovey-dovey, everybody in the world gets a rainbow type thing here, this is really nihilistic. Like, almost parodically nihilistic. They do manage to squeeze out a small bit of positivity in some places, and again, that tribute to Trevor is absolutely dynamite, but there's just this sense of doom and dread it feels a little put on. I'm going to be honest with you. It just feels a little put on. It's not quite authentic, and it's just there to have something to fill up what they've written. There is a genuine point, but some of it feels overblown in a way. But maybe that's just Carnifex for you. I mean, maybe that's just what they do. Overall, though, Carnifex have put out a very good deathcore release. It's up there with Cattle Decapitation as one of my favorite, not only deathcore releases, but albums of the year so far. The record has an excellent album cover, some resoundingly heavy yet restrained songwriting, and one of the best tributes I've heard on any metal album. If they tightened up a little bit of the lyricism and stayed away from that suicide silence, dull deathcore territory a little bit, then it might be a higher contender overall. But as it is, I do recommend a listen, maybe even 2. I'm giving it a strong 4.5 out of 5. Thanks so much for watching. Click like and please don't forget to subscribe for more Metallic reviews. Next week we are, guess what? Shifting. Yeah, we shift a lot around here. We are going back into the world of faith-based metal. We're going to be looking at Christian power metal stalwarts Theocracy and their new album Mosaic. It's one of my most anticipated releases of the year, one of my favorite bands of all time. I am really looking forward to it, and I hope you'll join me. You've been watching Metallic Reviews, where I give honest ratings to honest music, and I will see y'all next time.